There's new reporting now on the ballooning cost of the White House ballroom and who may be paying for it. Despite President Trump repeatedly saying taxpayers will not pay for the ballroom project, the Washington Post reports more than $350 million of tax money for the Secret Service has been redirected to the White House, with a source saying those funds will help pay for the project. This comes after reporting from the Post found the project has grown to $600 million, with more than half of that funded by taxpayers. The president has repeatedly said it's funded by himself and donors.
And I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it. The country is not. We're donating a $400 million ballroom. Myself and donors are giving them free of charge. For nothing. We did this no charge to the taxpayer whatsoever. Rich people and people are putting up the money, zero taxpayer dollars. We didn't ask for any tax money. We have no tax. This is taxpayer free. We have no taxpayer putting up 10 cents. We're putting up $400 million to do the ballroom section of the ballroom. We are putting that up privately.
Well, not so much. Jonathan O'Connell is an investigative reporter for the Washington Post and joins me tonight. Jonathan, this week, millions of taxpayer dollars allocated for the Secret Service were redirected to, quote, White House security measures. What did you find in your reporting?
Yeah, we have a source, Anderson, who told us that this money is specifically going to construction for the East Wing. This is the project, the White House East Wing project, that includes a ballroom, an underground bunker, lots of other security measures. And it's sort of the latest detail about the ways that taxpayers are going to be paying for this.
And are all of these funds going for the ballroom project?
It's a good question. The source says that this is what it's for. It's going to a pot of money that could be used for other parts of the White House. There are other projects going on at the White House, but obviously there's a pressing need for funding to rebuild the East Wing since it was demolished in October.
And the money was originally allocated for the Secret Service in the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, with Republicans pointing to the assassination attempts on President Trump as justification for giving the Secret Service more resources. According to your reporting, the money represents 10% of the Secret Service's annual budget, which is a huge percentage. What are they saying about the transfer of funds?
Yeah, this is the thing that's irking people today, which is that when that bill was passed, as you mentioned, there had been 2 attempts on Donald Trump's life. And there was, genuinely bipartisan interest in making sure the Secret Service had the requisite training, technology, communication, retention bonuses for officers. And that's what this money, if you read the legislation, is supposed to be used for.
President Trump himself posted about the ballroom early this morning. He wrote in part, "The ballroom is coming along fantastically well. It's on time, under budget, and at a much higher quality than I ever promised, including the drone port and all the other many military elements, which are all vital for national security, that are being built throughout the whole integrated, cohesive project." After the attack at the White House Correspondent Dinner, which was thwarted, the Trump administration used that to justify the ballroom.
Yes.
Now they've been talking about the White House UFC event. After the thwarted attack on that, they're using that to justify it as well.
They're really leaning into the idea that the whole East Wing should be allowed to be rebuilt as soon as possible for security purposes. The legal reason for this, Anderson, is because they are in court. And in court, the judges stalled or put a halt to construction above ground or construction that's not for security purposes. So I think the smart part of the president's posting there is he is portraying the whole project as a security need.
Yeah, I mean, his use of the term, the whole integrated, cohesive project, that sounds
yes.
like a term from a legal document or something.
They've put themselves in a little bit of a corner here, because legally it does help them, I think, or could, to argue that this is all one structure, which it is genuinely, and that maybe the whole structure is a security, purpose, or that the security is needed there. But at the same time, they're trying to, he's been talking about this project as a ballroom that will be privately donated forever, or for months anyway. And to now say, well, actually part of it is a privately funded ballroom and part of it is, we need to find appropriations for and the public should actually be paying for. It's hard to make that distinction at the time when they're in court and trying to argue the whole thing is one secure structure.
Yeah, Jonathan O'Connell, fascinating as always. Thank you so much.
There's new reporting that reveals just how invested President Trump is in gilding the Oval Office during his second term. In their upcoming book, Regime Change, by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan of the New York Times, that's out next week, and everyone should read it. Part of it recounts how the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, once walked into the Oval Office only to find the president, quote, clutching a tube of super glue and attempting to affix gold decorations to the marble fireplace mantle. The authors add that, quote, as he was known to prefer his own aesthetic handiwork to anyone else's, the sight of the president squeezing glue onto gilded appliques and mounting them on the wall himself surprised no one in his inner circle. On that front tonight, my political sources are S.E. Cupp, who is the podcast host of Off the Cup, and Karen Finney, who is a senior advisor to Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. I mean, S.E., it's really not that actually hard to picture the president doing this.
Well, it is and it isn't. It is unfathomable to imagine a U.S. president supergluing anything in the Oval Office. That's wacko. But it's easier to imagine this president doing it. And it's kind of a perfect metaphor, as so many things are, from the reflecting pool to the ballroom. Like, Trump came up in business by putting his name on buildings, right? He didn't have to own them. Superficially, he was looking to look powerful and important. It's why he used a pen name when he'd call reporters to pretend to be someone else. Like, I think the artifice to him is often more important than what's underneath, than the substance of things. So actually this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, as I was watching the Obama library stuff today, they showed they have a recreation of the Oval when obviously he was in office. And looking at it compared to how it looks now reminds you just how much has changed and how much the president has put his own stamp on this. Karen, can I also ask you though, I mean, speaking of the Oval, in this book, Maggie and Jonathan also write about how the president's response to that infamous day in the Oval Office with President Zelensky, where it was this huge shouting match between the vice president and Zelensky. Trump actually thought it was great, according to this book, Regime Change. He told an advisor it was, quote, better than The Apprentice. Mm-hmm. I wonder what that tells you about, I mean, speaking as he was talking about, right, Trump's previous life before presidency, how he's viewing it.
Well, I appreciate Essie's perspective on that, although I saw it a little differently. To me, the idea, it was not surprising that the man would have super glue, because it is, frankly, a metaphor for the fact that he has literally and figuratively no respect for the office of the presidency. And the idea, I mean, he has this whole idea of what is almost this sort of faux masculinity. I mean, we just had a cage match on the South Lawn of the White House, for God's sakes, where we have welcomed, leaders from around the world. I mean, it's iconic. And his idea is, let's tear it all up and, have this wrestling match. So the Zelensky incident, of course, based on what we know about Trump and what he thinks about, this sort of, to what Essie was saying, this sort of faux show of power and it was clearly orchestrated to come off that way. It was meant to be, it was probably directed, right? It was orchestrated to be a moment for television where it looked like here he is yelling at Zelensky, a show of power. And I think what he has learned, frankly, maybe he hasn't learned, but what we've just seen in terms of what has happened with this Iran deal is he's not as smart as he thinks he is. And there are other world leaders who have figured out how to, sort of get the better of him. And because he is so easily drawn into these kinds of back and forth and this fake masculinity.
Well, I mean, speaking of the changes to Washington, D.C., the reflecting pool has been a big one. And, the White House touted it. They talked about how it looked before, said it could have used some work. I think people in D.C. would probably agree with that. Yeah. An intern at CNN, one of our excellent interns, shot this video today. The blue material that they talk about, the reflecting pool blue, is peeling off the bottom of it. I mean, just that image alone, that's $14 million, to remind people, that was spent to renovate the reflecting pool, Essie.
Again, this feels like almost too on the nose as a metaphor, right? Like this is a guy, again, that spent his life putting his name on buildings, right? With money that largely wasn't his. Again, here he is fixing a thing with money that isn't his, a problem that might have been real, but this isn't solving real Americans' problems, and distracting everyone at the same time. And he didn't even do it well. I think, again, this is sort of a metaphor for his presidency. He's all over the place doing things that aren't actually addressing real Americans' problems. And the sad irony is he got elected because he was laser focused on the things that Americans were saying really bothered them. And he seems to have forgotten all of it.